Welcome to Masculine Revolution Podcast, episode 56, with your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Jeremy Brown, myself, Matt Kimmerer. We got Murphy G, the back in the background in case I mess up, and the best to ever do it out on black behind the lens.
Whoop, whoop.
We're here this morning with my longtime buddy, Jimmy Hearn. Welcome to the show, Jimmy. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Good morning.
Jimmy, you on here, man.
I'm here. I'm here.
So before we kick off into kind of our topic today, kind of give us some context on, a little bit about you. You don't have to go into great detail, but, kind of some little bit of history.
Oh, boy. I pretty much lived in the same place my entire life. That's full round in itself here in my 40s. Realizing kind of how much that means to people that hasn't been here your entire life. I've worked anywhere you could possibly think of. Growing up, I set some roots down with the gas company because that's what my dad did, and really enjoyed that. Rolled into some running my own things. Ended up coaching cheerleading along the way, and we kind of opened our own gym 10 years ago and kind of led into some family business and do some mason work now, and 3 kids, beautiful wife, and great friends and a great church, man. Just kind of it full rounds itself every day and never stops. It's I stay super busy and waking up loving it and chasing it.
Yep, that's what's up. So you and I have known each other for a while, and have kind of embarked out on this little adventure that we call the path. That kind of is inspired by somebody that we kind of look up to. How would you define what the path is?
Man, the path, kind of the modified version of my crazy day-to-day life is, it's just staying disciplined, not for anyone else, but to make sure that you're ready for whatever's thrown at you every day. First and foremost, you're a dad, and if you hold that role, I feel like you're trying. At one point, I was trying to keep up with my kids, like literally, hey, come here, don't run away. And now I feel like I'm trying to keep up with my kids, as in, hey, he's 17, he ain't gonna outdo me. And I think the path, it's something that before I knew what that actually was, my dad had set me up, from a physical standpoint, without knowing it, to literally work out every day and don't miss a workout. Even on your worst day feeling terrible, you go hit a workout, you'll feel better. And if you don't, hey, at least you got your workout in, but I never didn't feel better. And that's something it's tough, even inside my own home, because my wife, she doesn't see fruit in not missing a workout, because I'll make myself late often because I'm going to go hit a workout real fast. But I feel like the physical aspect of it is that side of it. The mental game of it is people that know me, that truly know me, they've brought awareness that I have patience. And it took a while for me to realize I had patience. And that's honestly why I feel like I was successful working with kids, because you got to have patience. You got to have understanding. And what I found was if I missed a workout before I went and coached, patience was a little shorter. And if I came home from a long day at work and I missed my workout, I still got it in, but I didn't get it before I got home. Man, I was quickly told by my wife and the kids, like, you just kind of felt the tension in the room. It was just like, man, this isn't. It's not a physical thing, me hitting the workouts every day. It's a mental thing. It's my time to decompress and just check out and just kind of relax and just take my frustration that I didn't even know I had out. And that other people were showing me that I was a different person, and you learn yourself the older you get. But that was kind of what I was finding out was it's important to stay on that path, like not just physically. I mean, heck, I tell my son all the time. I mean, I don't look like some guy in a magazine, but I feel a certain way that allows me to approach situations differently, based off if I've got it, if I've went and exerted some energy or not. And I try to pass that on to them and let them know, get out of the mirror and, try to get in your head a little bit on what's the benefit in what we're doing every day.
Yeah. What do you think the lessons from the physical side, how do you think they roll over into the mental and the spiritual?
I think that the outward looking in, I think when you see someone that's physically fit, you automatically, at least me, I know the work that had to be put in to get there, but, I think it's a disciplined person. With social media and everything, I see a lot of your more disciplined people, they have regiments and, kind of like not missing a workout. I try my hardest not to miss opening my Bible app and dive into that. That's just as important to me, and that's part of my path. Like, yeah, we don't miss a workout, but we also try not to miss this. And if you ever break your streak, I don't know how y'all feel, but I'm like, man, like it hurts bad. And it's kind of like missing a workout too. I mean, I have missed, and I do feel terrible. But I'm also a different person because of it. But I don't know, man. I feel like it's they're kind of one and the same. Hit me with that question one more time.
Yeah. What have you learned from the physical side? Well, let me back up for a second. So, I think for me, when I think how I would say, hey, how do you define the path? I think it's staying in a mindset where growth is the intention, but it involves three elements of our human experience, physical, mental, spiritual. And so I think personally, the physical side is the most simple side of the three. I say that just from the perspective of, like, you put in work, you put in the effort, you see a result, right? On the mental and the spiritual side, sometimes you can put in the work and feel like, well, I don't see a result, it's not tangible, so it's not as clear, as like, the physical side is, where if you're focused for 90 days straight, you're going to see results pretty much no matter who you are, but with the mental and the spiritual, it's a little bit different. But I think that the principles that you learn through the physical relay over into the mental and the spiritual if you're paying attention. And so my question is kind of rooted in that, where what have you learned from the physical side of things that relay over into this mental and the spiritual sides?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's it boils down to the discipline side, just being consistent. I think working out, I mean, I see what you're saying. If you set a goal and you're writing down how much you're lifting, all these things, and you're tracking it, and you can see progress. And I feel like when you read the Bible, it's something that, in my mind, it pops up in your head when there's a situation, and you're just kind of like, that's funny. Or you're in something in life, and if you seek guidance, and you just like in the gym, if you had a weekend and you're just like eating pizza and like whatever, you run to the gym trying to fix that. And I feel like it's kind of one and the same, where maybe in that same weekend you had more beers than probably you should have, or had a couple more drinks, you're going to seek through prayer and beg for forgiveness. And, it's kind of one and the same. And if you look at it that way, but you're also supposed to learn from it. How did you feel when you ate all that pizza or hamburgers or whatever, donuts, if you even eat donuts, but
I eat donuts.
I don't eat donuts. I'm sorry. I can't do it. But it's the same, man. You've got to be disciplined enough to know that you can fix it, but the goal is to not try to get yourself in that position where you're having to hit the treadmill and just to feel like, dang it, you're just sitting there running, feeling guilty for eating all that, or you're sitting there praying and begging for forgiveness because you did something dumb because you drank too much or whatever. But I think, in my personal life, I don't have I've never felt like I sought after something through Christ and I was just waiting and waiting. Now, I will say that there's something more like it's God's timing, and I understand that. I was in a job, that I felt stuck in, and, I did pray to direct me and to kind of like, hey, this can't be, I just felt like this can't be what I'm supposed to do the rest of my life. It just didn't feel right. But I didn't like seek for something specifically, I stayed. I mean, my day to day was I went to my day job. I got out of there. I started coaching as soon as I got off of work, and I left from there and I went home to my family. And the next thing I know, God opened a huge door that I didn't even see coming for us to open our own gym, and that's something that I guess I didn't harp on. It just kind of happened. But it's also staying that consistent. It's kind of like if you work out, I feel like every single day, and you try to maintain a certain weight. Like you just stay on the scale. You don't worry about what you weigh. You just try not to weigh a certain amount, or you try to stay within what you want to weigh. You can find some kind of consistency in what you're going to do subconsciously to get there. I'm a big believer, 14-hour fast. I think that's something it's a healthy thing to do. But some days I'll forget to eat and I'll go 24 and I don't even realize it. And what I found though is subconsciously, maybe I was on that scale and I was, maybe I was 5 pounds over what I was from the weekend of whatever. And I feel like you find like a level ground, if that makes sense. To be on the level you want to be physically, but if you stay consistently with just prayer and just digging into the Bible, that it's not really like if you're begging for something, like if you have an issue in your life and you're just like, something tragic, like I can understand that. Our son, we went through this whole thing with him he had this blood disorder, and like that was something that felt like it took forever, but there was trust, and I believe our God would get us through this. And it was, every day was terrible, but I'm sitting here getting to still hold him and be a part of him. And like, yes, I felt like in the moment it took forever and I couldn't do anything about it. But I feel like also on the path, if I look down at my belly and I don't like the way it looks, I can't just go hit the treadmill either and just be like, hey, now I have abs. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like it's kind of one and the same in that. Like, it's just something it's going to take a while, but you can't expect immediate results. Even if you want it, you can't physically change yourself immediately. Just like you can't, you can't just hit your knees and start praying and your bank account's full of money. You know what I mean? Yep. I think it's all about the perspective of which your expectation is and what you're asking for and what your goals are.
Mm-hmm. Can you kind of walk us through what your ideal daily regimen would be to address those things, mind, body, and spirit, and just kind of how you make it through the day, intentionally focused on those things?
Yeah, so I'll be a little vulnerable here because, I've got things that, you just pick up. I don't know if it's something someone told you, it's a reel you saw, things. But my day-to-day right now, before I get out of that bed, I make sure that I thank God. I'll keep my eyes closed, and I just thank Him for each one of my kids,
Amen.
my wife, just the opportunities that He's presented to me for that day, and I want Him to know that, like, I'm just so thankful. From that, I kind of, I roll into, got to get everybody up. Like, I'm going to get all my kids up, and if y'all know me, I'm not a morning person. I'm usually late if it's early.
Not today, though.
Hey, not today.
On
But
time.
you know what? I thought I started at 5:15. Yeah, but anyway, I roll from that. I get the kids up. McCall's getting breakfast going, and they're hard to get up. And I'm just sitting here like, I'll get frustrated with them, but it's also just what a blessing, because I came from 10 years of getting up and getting out of the house, and I didn't get these opportunities. I had to be at a job, and McCall had to do all this by herself. So my perspective is I wouldn't trade this for the world. I didn't get to do this for 10 years. Now I get to do this. But rolling in from there, we come down, we have breakfast together every day. I take the kids to school. That's my thing. Today I missed out on it, and honestly, this was kind of a deciding factor for me. I don't want to miss that. I love it. I love taking my kids to school. I love being the last person they see. Normal for the past, I know I keep saying 10 years, but it was 10 years Atlanta Gaslight. I've got 10 years invested in the Rock. But I consistently went to the Rock every single day for 10 years. And I didn't get to see my kids, though. When I left them that morning, I didn't get to see them until the next morning. And honestly, it didn't slap me in the face until my son now is a senior. And I'm sitting here going, holy cow, like, this is crazy. And I've made some drastic changes with that. But, I drop my kids off. When my kids, I take them to school. From there, I'm just working. I'm lining up whatever I need to knock out. I try to knock everything I've got out by 12, no later than 2. So that way I'm ready to get back in dad mode. But 2 o'clock, I don't know, my kids go to a private school, car rider line, terrible. But my wife, she takes that on. I don't pick them up. She picks them up. I have been sneaking in there now that I can. But that 2 o'clock time frame hits. It's time for a pre-workout, baby. Jocko, go. We're getting it. I'm hitting that, and then I'm doing my workout, whether it's at the gym or if we got a little thing going on in the basement of the house. But I'm hitting that, and the consistency is I'm wrapping up 15, 20 minutes maybe left. When my kids get home, they know where to find me. And it's pretty dang consistent. I mean, even when I was going into the gym a little later, as I was trying to venture away from being at the gym coaching every day, I'd have that workout same time frame too, but I'd have to be there 2:45, 3 o'clock. But the kids, they knew when they came home, Dad was in the basement, and we're working out, but they're joining me. They're in this with me, and that's like our little time. And the cool part is I've done this for so long. Now my 17-year-old, he's like, we're sharing this space, and I love going down there. Even though we don't work out together as much, he does his own thing with his buddies, but I love seeing stuff set up and just wondering, like, what did he hit? I bet I know what he did. Like, I know what this is set up and this is set up. I know it. I know what he did. But now my other two are coming down there, and they're working out with me, and we're getting after it. And here lately, my 12-year-old, he's like, Dad, a little bit longer. And before it was like, come on, Dad. He's trying to get me out of here. He has something he wants to show me or do because he knows I've got to get to the gym. But after we do our workout, here lately we've been doing dad stuff. Normally it's me running out the door, and I'm being a coach, which is, I don't take that away. I love that. I love being there and being with all these other kids, but I've refocused, man. I've backed up, and now it's like, all right, workout's done. Like, it's hunting season. We've been getting out there trying to get everything set and prepped for that. We're doing some things around the house. They each have their own little knacks they like to do. We'll hit the creek, whatever their little minds. Baseball's huge right now. Whatever they want to do, we go attack that until Mom's calling us back in for dinner. But that's kind of my day to day, and trying not to get, I struggle with cutting work off. My phone, if it goes off, I tend to not put it first, but I will. That's something I struggle with. But I would say if the path could be clear, I envy Jeremy. I know when he don't answer, I'm not like, he's not being rude. It's family time, or it's checkout time, and I'm like, I need to do better at that. But my business is running during family time. Well, we open at 3, we close at 9, and I feel like I got to be there for that. But I have a great staff, and they're killing it, and I'm trusting them to do the right thing, so I'm able to disconnect. But that's what I roll with every day.
Do you feel like one area has effect on another? Are they all tied together, mind, body, and spirit? Like if you neglect one area or you spend too much time in one area, it takes a toll on one of the others.
I think your mind, if you're not consistently opening, I call it the Bible app. I'm not I don't tote a Bible around and open it. I wish I could, or I say I wish I would. It's just something that phone's with me. It's 2025. I feel like that's everybody's kind of how they keep up with stuff. But if I'm not opening that app, I feel like my mind, it gets so busy, and that's my reminder. If I miss, I know that my mind, it's kind of like you got to put it in check. It's kind of like, maybe I've been going to the gym, but just going through the motions, and like I'm not really doing anything. I just showed up, or maybe I made my way to the gym. Like I went downstairs, but heck, who knows? Maybe I got caught in the algorithm or something, and I didn't get a whole lot done. But It's kind of like if you start with your day and you didn't put Jesus first, and you didn't say, hey, this is like, what do you got for me? And you just started running. There's really nowhere to go. Like you're just running for yourself. You didn't seek a plan to say, hey, God, whatever you got for me, it's for you today. Like you just did it. Like you just woke up and did it. You just did the day. And I think your mind has to be reminded, like, hey, you're opening your Bible. I feel like there's an algorithm to what that Bible verse pops up. I don't know if it's the same. I've never looked at it, if mine is the same as yours or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I like to read it and say, was this here for a reason? Because sometimes I just read it and I'm like, it doesn't really mean anything. But if it doesn't, then I like to switch and look at different ways, like what's the message maybe it'll hit differently. Right. But spiritually, I feel like the mind, that's the connection there. I'm not one to dig deeper and sit there and do a Bible study. I've learned a ton from Jeremy and sitting through Bible studies with him, but that's not something I specialize in. He might not do this, but it's a big reason why my kids go to a Christian school is because I'm so jealous that the word just falls out of this man's mouth and he doesn't even realize it. And he's just like, well, it says this and this. I'm sitting here going, man, just, and I could have it. I know I could sit here and study it and all that, but it was instilled as him, him going to a Christian school, and that's what I want for my kids. And man, they threw me some little jabs and was like, we know it says this, and I'm just sitting there going, that's awesome. Dang it, like, he's right. He's right. But that's kind of the mind and the spiritual side of it is when I'm hitting the sauna, there's no better feeling than kind of getting lost in the Bible app. Or just maybe turning some kind of message or something on and just letting your mind relax and just kind of take it in and just sometimes sitting in peace and just rolling through it and just thinking just how thankful and just grateful for the opportunity to sometimes just to have this time to be still. If anybody knows me, I'm always doing something. Super ADD, very just all over the place, but I try to tell people, most people couldn't do my role in like my gym, for instance. When I walk in there and let's say you wanted a job, you came in there. I don't sit you down like this across from a table. I take you into the gym and I want to see your reaction. I want to see what do you look like when you see all these kids? What do you look like when all this is going on? Like, are you going to like shut down? Or are you going to be like, oh yeah, this game, this is exactly where I need to be. And you can see people, and they do. They're like, oh. And my first thought is, do you like kids? Because anybody else walks in, if you're with me, all you're going to hear is, Coach Jimmy, Coach Jimmy, Coach Jimmy, Coach Jimmy. Like, they're attacking me, and I love it. I'm just like, hey, what's up? Show me, show me, show me. Like, high fives. Like, let's see it. And some people are just like, this is a lot. And I was like, well, it is a lot. But you know what? This is where I feel called to be, and this is where you should be. And I want you to know there's more to this than what you're kind of seeing. This is a place to guide kids in the right direction. And when we first opened, I was very trying to put messages and stuff out there, and like trying to round to Jesus and putting Bible verses out there. And what I found is I took all that away and just was me and was always here for these kids. And when conversations could be happening, we had them with the kids, and we still got labeled as a Christ-centered facility. And I loved it. But the conversations we'd have with these kids, it would kind of like, man, Jesus is everywhere. This is awesome. But Jesus was there, but they were lost. They didn't have any guidance. And they wanted it, and they're seeking it from you. And so I prep these people. You're coming in. I'm like, all right, he's loving the environment. He's great with the kids. Where's his heart at? Like, and that's a tricky thing to do. You can't just sit there and say, are you believe or whatever. Like, I've got to see it. I want to see what you're going to say when I'm not standing next to you with these kids. And that's a hard thing to find out, but it's easier to live out as a coach and as someone leading kids and stuff, because you're constantly reminded that you're being looked at in certain ways. Yep. And then you have to find other people that are also living that out, because they're not just looking at you as the owner. They're looking at your staff, and they're looking at everybody else to make sure that that's still the reflection that they're getting. And if my coach comes in and, let's just say, you said mind, body, and spirit, and body-wise, they just look a mess. They just look crazy. And usually the attitude and everything else that comes with looking crazy is there, and the kids pick up on it. Mm-hmm. And so then that's what my job to do is
accountability.
Yeah, you got to have accountability, and it's kind of like I need to check that person on their three things, mind, body, and spirit, like what's going on, And usually what you can tell is they just had a crazy day. They just woke up and ran. They didn't go through their norm. They didn't do what they normally do every day. And kids kind of got the short end of the stick with that coach that day. And I've sent them home. I've been like, hey, let's just not do this today. Tomorrow. Yeah, let's kind of do something different. But I think what the big three for me, keeping them three intact and kind of staying on the path, is it's kind of like you say it and you hear about it, but you want to be the light. But if you're on that path, you're a lot brighter of a person. And I feel like people just naturally assume that Jesus is somewhere present in that person's life than if you're not on the path. Right. And I think that's something that when I'm waking up and just running, I ain't on the path. I done fell off the path, and I'm just trying to get back on the path. I done, ventured somewhere I shouldn't have been, and I need to get back on it. And you can just tell, like, the mind, body, or spirit that's off that day. And, I think like what you were saying earlier, you can't – spiritually, it's like you might not realize it as fast as you would physically that you've fallen off the path. Because you're not going to have these feelings like the yucks, the just like, whatever. I mean, I remember younger, just the hangover, like, just like, what? And what are you doing? Like, why? Like, you do all this to take care of your body, and then you do that? Like, that makes no sense. And I think that's the same thought process when if you're living this life as a Christian. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I surely ain't perfect. And I'm reminded every day, like, I'm not. But I will say, it's hard to ask for forgiveness for stuff you've done, but it's hard to go to the gym and burn off them extra calories. One might be easier than the other, but is it? Yeah. You know what I mean? Physically, it's tough to, to get that weight off. But I mean, to me, mentally, it's tough for me to sit down and read a book. I mean, that's not my personality. Like I'm not focused that way, but I feel terrible until I do so. You know, like I feel like it's something that's needed. It's something that I messed up. I need to do something about it.
See, I'm the opposite. Like I feel like I do better with mind and spirit and neglect my body because by the time I get through my work day, like I've physically worked, and I oftentimes physically work after work. So I'm like, oh, that's good enough, you know. And it's really, is it? It's not, you know. And that's one thing that's been, you and I have had this conversation multiple times recently. I've got to dial it in with making intentional time to focus on physical well-being.
Yeah, and a lot of the times that part of the process is the most difficult. And I think most of the time, you know, people naturally, you know, like, well, where do I start? You know, and I think that at least for me, like everybody goes back in their minds to like younger, and and so they've got this base of like, you know, where athletics are more, you know, available, or the opportunities in our life is like, you know, high school age, you know. And so then it's like, okay, well, let me go back to like what I know about it. And it's like diving in to train for a sport, where like the path where, in my mind, where we're at in life, where you're an adult and you have a family and you have work and all these things, like sometimes like it's as simple as, hey, I'm going to do, you know, 2 sets of 25 push-ups and do some air squats, and maybe do 3, 4, how many ever pull-ups you can do, and that's it. You know, and that's the first step. You know, instead of like, okay, I got to put together a workout program. I got to go to the gym. I got to get a gym membership. Like all this stuff that goes along with it in your mind, this expectation, you know, where it's like, no, it can be different for some people. You know, some people are love running, you know, and they don't even touch a weight, you know, and they run 3 miles a day, you know what I mean? And so it can, whatever like modified regiment you want to put together, like the intent's not, like Jimmy said, it ain't, the goal is for the path is not like I look like I'm jacked.
Bodybuilder.
Yeah. I look like it's not about aesthetics at all. It has nothing to do with aesthetics at all. It's really just setting yourself up, because if your body is functioning more in a healthy realm, then your mental and your spiritual will have a better opportunity to function well as,
for sure.
You know,
yeah.
Now it's the same dilemma with the physical. Like you got to put the work in. You know, it's not like it's just like you do the work physically and then the mental and the spiritual, it just comes together. That's not the truth. But it gives you the opportunity to where all of a sudden you feel like Jimmy was saying, like you feel better. You have more energy. Your thought process is more clear. And so all of a sudden it's like, okay, that huge hurdle that you have to get over to like get disciplined with, you know, for us, reading scripture and studying what Jesus has to say and how he tells us to live. Like for me, I have a better opportunity to get in sync with him if my physical is in check, right. You know? And so, but my encouragement piece is like, don't make it something bigger than it is. Like start off simple. And then when that simple is completed, all of a sudden you're like, well, that wasn't that bad, you know? And so now, okay, let's add a little bit more to it. Or I'm content with what that is and do that for a while, right. You know? But it's just getting started, you know, just getting started on it. And I think it's huge, especially, you know, men and women, you know, it's the same category. It's a human thing. But I think with men, especially if you're married and you have a family, like other than a relationship with Jesus, in my opinion, if you want to make a change in your life outside of Jesus, training physically in some sort of fashion is the number one step you can take to make a difference in your life.
Oh, for sure. Because it's just recently, like maybe the last, 2 years, that I haven't had a steady physical workout regimen. I'm still paying the gym membership, but, and I remember how much better I felt when I did work out daily or every other day or 3 times a week or whatever time allowed, like it really does affect other areas like your mental ability to be able to process thoughts, be able to be healthy mentally. And I know a lot of people that are unhealthy mentally, and a lot of times you can point back to the spiritual, like where are you at spiritually? Where are you at physically? Like, oh well, I don't make time to read or pray or study. I don't make time to go to the gym or I just going through the motions. And I'm like, yeah, it's hard to expect to be mentally healthy if that's the process, that you're doing every day. And those three things tie together perfectly, And one of the things we mentioned was the way our body's a temple. You got your foundation, you've got your structure, then you got the roof and everything that's in. It's like our temple. And if we have one weak link, whether it be physical, spiritual, or mental, what does that say about our temple? What does it say about our building? We don't need to have weak spots in our building. So it's really important to stay focused and to do those things, intentionally. Not after everything's falling apart and you're like, man, I got to start over. I got to start here. And that's what I love about having men in my life that are an encouragement. Like, hey, I'm struggling mentally. Well, let's go hit a workout, or let's take some time to read and pray. And that's important. That's really important for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people can say the same thing, of having other people in your life to encourage you, kind of walk alongside you and say, hey, look, let's do something different.
Yeah, relationships are huge. I think too that the physical side thing teaches you the secret sauce with consistency, and where I think it can relay over into the mental and the spiritual side is like you were saying, Jimmy, like if you miss that day in the Bible, like you feel it, and why is that? Is because exactly what you said, your mental shifts to where all of a sudden it automatically places you in this reactionary state of mind where life is going to take place and problems are going to arise, challenges are going to be placed in front of you that you got to come up with solutions for and execute, and then the day's done, and it puts you in the spot where you're just receiving what the day can throw you and you're reacting to it. Where I think, that's why I think Jesus says, hey, meditate on what I'm saying daily. It's because as humans, we get distracted easily. And he knows that. And so it takes that consistent connection where you're reminding yourself that you're a part of something bigger than you, and that what you value is important, and it's more important than just going through the day. You want to go through the day and have an impact in a positive way for Jesus onto others. And the staying rooted in that perspective is incredibly important, because I find myself like far from perfect, where certain situations I will give into the certain circumstance and it'll rule me by my attitude, my how I treat other people, how I view other people, all these things that if I'm not focused on the bigger picture, like all of a sudden I find myself down this down this trail where I'm looking at it going, dang, like I missed it, you know. But those are those moments where, you know, I used to kind of like beat myself up over it and be like, man, why'd you do that, you know? But now I kind of react to it a little bit differently, where I'm like, okay, well, I have an opportunity to see where what pushed me to what about these particular circumstances pushed me to where I forgot about the bigger picture of how Jesus is calling me to live. And can I begin to recognize those little things, those little red flags, and self-correct, like, before I get way down this path where, like, I'm in this way of thinking and looking at people a particular way, or treating people, or having a bad attitude or whatever? Can I self-correct to be more consistent with how Jesus, you know, inspires me to, you know, to live? And I think that's the key to it is I think that's where the connection for me with working out is I like it's super simple on the physical side, where if you miss a few days, or you jump off the normal diet, like, you feel it, and there's a cause and effect with it. Well, that exact same principle is applied in the mental and the spiritual, and you got to recognize that it's important. It's incredibly important to figure out a regimen that works with your rhythm of life and the pace at which you live, and get consistent with it. You know, if somebody asked, you know, hey, I hear what you're saying. I completely can see where I want to experience this, but where do I begin? What would your advice be?
Try it one more time. My mind jumped.
Yep. So if somebody's sitting here saying, hey, like, I feel you, I'm picking up on what you're putting down on the path, right? But I'm not on it, and I want to get on it. What's some first steps that you would encourage them to take?
Go. Just, like, I mean, I think, so you can approach working out as, you know, as intensive as you want. Like, you can just get on Instagram and type something in, or get on, you know, look at a magazine. But I mean, realistically, that's not obtainable. That's not something that most people could ever achieve. And I think if you can get out of the mirror, I can't say that term enough. If you can get out of the mirror and just be more focused on how you feel, I think what you'll learn is you don't look at yourself that often. I mean, how often do y'all look in the mirror? You know what I mean? Yeah. But I mean, you're constantly in your mind. Your mind, it can be clear. It can be sharper. It can be the patience, the accountability. All these things, they round to just. And honestly, even if you treated a workout as a checklist for you, some days that's okay. But it's just something that's that consistency that you did what you normally do in that day. And I think part of it is, though, I think some days you're going to challenge yourself and you're really going to push it. Right now, I'm going into a heavy state. I'm doing everything in sets of 5, and man, you feel it. And honestly, it kind of affects my next day. But I like being sore because I came out of doing something that was high rep, and I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of sweating, just working. I mean, I hear you. Like, in the Mason thing, ain't nothing light, and it's just hot. And the high rep wasn't working. I wasn't liking it. I wasn't feeling it. So I switched it. I said, you know what? We're going to do something less. I don't want to leave the gym sweating after I've been sweating all day. But You just got to play with it, man. When we go on vacation, my wife, she's like, I think you're going to like this place. They got a gym. They got a sauna. They got this. I'm like, okay. Like, sold. Don't even have to ask me. But if it doesn't mean we can't stay there. She going to have to, like, don't put some suitcases right here because we're going to do a little workout. And you know what? I've had better workouts. Hey, when we were in Key West, like, I had better workouts in the room sometimes just because I just went out and I didn't think. I just set a timer and was just like, let's just go and just do it. And what I do and what someone else does, it doesn't matter. The numbers don't matter. What you did really don't matter. It's the fact that you just did something, and I don't know what it is. And it's kind of like reading the Bible sometimes and you have them aha moments. But if you can get out of your head and get out of the mirror and just do something, you could have had the hardest day at work ever. If you just come home and do something, you're never going to regret it. You're never going to be like, I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? If you go grab some donuts, though, you might be like, oh, crap, I shouldn't have done that. And I'm going to be like, you're right. You shouldn't have done that.
Never said that, Jimmy.
Yes, you should never do that. What are they called? Sugar-coated lies?
Sugar-coated lies.
Sugar-coated lies.
But that's my motivation, too, to put the physical in. It's like, hey, now I've got a real reason that I have to.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think that the easiest thing is to not do it, but I think that's everything. You know, anything that's worth doing, it's easier not to do.
Facts.
But I mean, if you don't want, I think what drives me more than anything to get something in is to know. Like, I know now, it directly affects my patients. And for 10 years, I directed that towards my job. I had to have patients working with kids. So I knew, I kind of set them to parameters. I have to work out, so I will have patience for this day. But I didn't realize it was affecting my home life too. My wife's patience is as much as mine, but that's why we work. I have enough patience for both of us. So if I'm lacking the patience, we can't both be in attack mode and
Right.
just like, hey, like, go, now. What are y'all doing? One has to complement the other. And I feel like I said, man, it isn't about what I did. It's that I did something, and mentally it made me feel like it was worth doing, and physically I benefited from it.
Right.
And I can't stress to you. You know, my dad, he's getting a little older, but I watch him consistently go to the gym every day. And that's the example that's set before me. If I call my dad, he don't answer, he's at the gym.
Yeah.
I pull up Life 360, guaranteed he's at the gym because he always answers. And it's like, you know, well, Dad got one in today. I'm going to get one in today too.
Better.
You know what I mean? Like,
step up.
and my brother, same thing. He calls me every day. Hey, where you at? I'm at the house today. All right. And then the one Life, like, all right, I'll catch you maybe next time. My son, he leaves school, goes straight to one. Well, he goes to eat, and then he goes to One Life.
Got to get that fuel.
Yeah, he's always eating. But that, you know, that seems to be my normal circle. So maybe it's easier for me. But it's like you're saying, the accountability. You know, when I talk to Jeremy, or maybe if we go on vacation or something, he's always got, like, he's digging into, he's a self-competitor, and he's always like, this one time we went to the mountains, and he was like, dude, we're doing, was it 100 burpees in a minute?
Yeah.
Or,
No. 10 minutes. 100
minutes.
burpees in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to do this every day for 30 days.
Yeah.
And it was 3,000 burpees.
Yeah, it was a bunch of it.
It was a bunch. Anyway, he was like, he come up with this, but that was not my style of working out. I am not going to just get after some burpees. But you know what? We needed to work out. We was in the mountains. We were doing burpees on the porch overlooking some mountain, and it was awesome. I hated it, but it was awesome. But it's just, you know, it's doing something, you know what I mean? And knowing that if my brother or my son or anyone that knows me calls me and just says, what'd you hit today? I'm like, well, what's today? Today's Thursday, so I'll probably hit back and buys. Or maybe we'll, you know, I might do a little cardio today. But that's part of my day-to-day. But that's what I've created for myself, if that makes sense. But I think I coach athletes. I feel like if I'm not in some kind of shape, one, to keep up with them, but also save their life as they're flipping through the air, like I've got to be physically able to do that. But two, they're going to respect me more telling them to do stuff if I'm capable of doing what they can do as well. And at some point I'll be old and I can't do it. But at this point I can still do everything I'm asking of them to do from a physical working out standpoint. And sometimes you got to show them.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not just asking you to do this because I think it's going to make you feel better or whatever. I'm telling you because I'm doing it too. Like, I think it's super beneficial to you. But Matt, man, I remember growing up with you in your bedroom. You had a bench press.
Yeah.
In your bedroom, like his bed was here, bench press here, and you I don't know, you used to lift crazy amounts of weight. So, you know what it feels like. You know, like I mean, you were jacked in high school. Like, you have that feeling of what it should feel like. And I'd love to just bug you and say, hey, what are you hitting today?
Yeah.
To give you some of that accountability, because I'm with you.
I need it, man.
Well, I'm telling you, there's nothing worse right now than sweating, just moving masonry material from off a trailer and offloading it onto a site.
Do it, it ain't
Yeah.
me.
Well, but you're drained. Like, you're drained. But you got to get it in. Like, you just have to, even if it's a checkbox that day.
Right.
I mean, it could be the smallest little thing, but if you do that, that's no different than you taking the time to reading your Bible and that.
Right.
Like, make it that important, or make it all in one. Your best workouts you'll ever have, turn some worship music on.
Amen.
Dude, I'm like, woo, you get lost in it.
Yeah. I think what I enjoy the most about focusing on those three things is transformation. Like, I love being transformed to be more like Christ by focusing on my spirit, my spiritual life. I love overcoming negative thoughts and bad habits of the way I think by focusing on my mental health and my emotional health and all the mind games that the enemy tries to use against us. And I love my mind constantly being transformed. And like you said, I working out is nothing new. It's just I'm not doing it right now. It's not part of my daily thing right now. But I love that transformation of going from, fat and sloppy to trimmed and energetic, because it does. It gives you an energy that nothing else in this world gives you. It's like when you go, you're like, I'm too tired to go to the gym, but you go anyway. And by the time you get through your workout, man, you feel amazing. You have energy that you didn't know you had. And that transformation, man, I love that physical transformation that takes place when we intentionally focus on our physical health, and then tying all three of those together is just, it builds a machine, man, that's unstoppable. Like, you're like, you can't get at me in my spirit because I'm connected. Mm-hmm. You can't get at me in my mind because I'm connected. You can't get at me physically because I'm connected. It's hard to lose.
Yep.
It's hard to lose.
Yeah, I think like to really take a step toward making major encouragement to folks. I think, in our culture today, there are so many distractions, and the pace at which our culture lives and demands the majority of people in it to live as well. Like, you got to recognize that there's a war literally going on, and whether you realize it or not, it's happening. And so when you look around and you see that the normal isn't what we're talking about, like, there's a reason behind that. It's not just that way because it's that way. There's a specific reason. If Satan is very aware that if he can keep us distracted and unhealthy, then what type of impact are you going to have for the bigger picture, right? None. You're not going to have any. And so that's what he wants. And so for men especially, I think it's really important. I think we're designed to where, like you said, Matt, like, hey, when you don't feel like it and you go to the gym anyway, when you get done, you feel accomplished. You're like, all right, cool. I accomplished something hard. My son and I completed a triathlon not that long ago, back in August. And, I something that him and I have conversation during the entire process of doing the race is like, this is not fun. Like it literally, like it is, when you're 2 hours in and you're still going, you're like, this sucks. I want this to be over. You know what I mean? But then it's wild because you cross the finish line and it's literally the moment you cross the finish line, this feeling of like, that was awesome. Comes into your mind.
Yeah.
But it's funny how like the duration of it, you're sitting there thinking like as you're running the last, we do an Olympic triathlon, so it's 5 miles there at the end, and you're like on mile 3, and you're like, this sucks, like I just want to quit, like, but then the second you cross the finish line, you're like, I'm so glad I did that, and it's like this feeling of like, yeah, we did it, and it's the same thing, in a micro level on a day-to-day basis, and if you can begin to get disciplined enough to compound those things, then all of a sudden when life happens and things don't go the way that you necessarily want them to, it sets you up not to say, hey, it makes it easy. I don't want to send that message at all, because it ain't. Like, you still have to go through the mess that life can throw at you. But at the end of the day, you're building a resume in your mind of reality to where it's like, look, number one, God's got me, and I've seen that over and over and over, even in times that when life is challenging and it's chaos, I still know that there's a resume that Jesus has my back, right? And then add the mental, spiritual, and the physical discipline side of things where you're experiencing going through those particular challenges. You begin to build this. There's a confidence, not in an unhealthy way where arrogance slips in there, which can happen, and you got to be aware of it and keep it in check. But like, it's this confidence where it's like, okay, no matter what the specific circumstance is, I can get through it, and there's hope that's created through that, where you don't get overwhelmed as easily because you're like, well, that's not the greatest situation at the moment or circumstance, but all right, let me process a little bit and put a plan together and start getting to work, to come up with a solution of whatever it may be, and the more that is the normal regiment of how you're living your life, all of a sudden it's not that your days are easy. Like, I don't want to send that message, but it's that you look at the challenges differently, and there's more of an opportunity in the challenges rather than just looking at it from the perspective of like, I just want this to go away. You know what I mean? And there's power in that, and I think that's how Jesus designed us, is he wants us to taste that, like, look, I've created the mind, body, soul, and I created it intentionally, and I created it in y'all as human beings, a 3-in-1 package, that reflects me as 3-in-1 with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And so y'all get to taste a little bit of the image that we reflect. And when you are able to experience those 3 in line, you experience his glory, and that's where it's like, wow, this is legit, like,
It's powerful, man.
yeah,
There's power in that.
yeah. So it's good. But Jimmy, any other kind of closing thoughts as we kind of wrap things up?
I mean, I think that, I kind of approach this just so, with zero thought, like pre-thought going into it. But other than trying to just prepare yourself for kind of like what Matt was saying, that anything can be thrown at you, and making sure that, on your worst day mentally, I think what you need to know is if your worst mental day is there, you can lean on your physical. And I think you'd be surprised, even if you don't do anything, but if you're mentally, just exhausted, or you just don't know where to turn, sometimes a walk or a light jog, even if it's your first time ever, I think will do you wonders. I think because then you're not, at the end of your race, how much stuff was running through your head about everything else going on the next day. Mm-hmm. You're completely focused on the physical. And I'm not saying I push myself to that point every day, but what I'm saying is they're all connected. And I guess the older you get, the more wiser you get. But the wisdom I have in what I feel like I figured out for my life is, without one, or maybe if I miss one and I get the other one in, it makes me want to try to hit all three the next day. But if when I'm doing a physical workout, at some point I have a little bit of downtime or whatever, and that usually results into that. I don't know why, but that's when my Bible app pops open. Like if I'm in the sauna or whatever, that's my time that's my quiet time. But they roll into each other so well, especially if you can figure out how to get them all three together. You can heal yourself, I guess is what I'm getting at. You can mentally say, or physically, you're hitting it and you're just I just don't really have it today. Well, then check out physically and maybe go walk on the treadmill and mentally just go through your day, while physically you're doing it. But maybe you needed to take a physical break in the gym and you just didn't need to do it. I've walked on the treadmill several days from injury, and just, man, the thoughts that go through your head of just walking, It's the opposite of what I was saying a second ago. You want to clear your mind, but sometimes you could be walking and just get into a deep thought. But I think one complements the other, and if you can get yourself out of your own funk, or at least have the accountability of someone saying, hey, you just look stressed, and saying, knowing me, what is it, whatever, do you want to go hit a workout or something? That's better for me than saying, do you want to go grab lunch or coffee?
Yeah, absolutely.
Matt, closing thoughts?
One thing, I'm motivated to get back in the gym after having these conversations.
Up.
Yeah, which you've motivated me for weeks now, and I've just been so busy trying to get some things taken care of at the house that it's just kind of not made sense for me to do it. But I'm moving into a season to where things are slowing down, and it's definitely going to be something I put a little bit more effort into, and just trying to be well-rounded on all three of those areas. Instead of strong in two and weak in one, they work together in perfect unity, and believe that consistency forms habits, and those habits lead to transformation, So if you're out there watching, we just want to encourage you to focus on those things, and there's power in it. There's mental clarity, there's freedom, and just overall well-being of feeling better and being more useful for not only your family, but if you're in ministry or your company or motivating other men, it's important to start right there on those three things. It's hard to give away what you don't have.
Yep.
It's hard to be something to somebody if you're not something for yourself first, and that's kind of how it spoke to me.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I would say life can be overwhelming. And to think through, to say, how the heck am I supposed to find some time to do anything outside of what I'm already doing? that's okay to feel that way, and to see and think that way. That's normal. But my challenge of what I would encourage you to do is take the top 3 values in your life that are super important to you and write them down. There's an incredible amount of power in putting pen to paper, and we've talked about it a lot on the podcast. But when you see those values on a piece of paper, and then you can take a look at your day to day, how much of your time is dedicated to those 3 values, and really kind of think through that. Think through that process, because I love the comment. I don't even know where I got it from, but and I'll botch the quote, but it's pretty much the frustration that you experience is dependent on the amount of effort placed on your values. So, meaning, if you're experiencing consistent frustration, then your time that you're living is probably not aligned with what you feel is important. And so, if you want to take a first step of growth, analyze those values and see where your time's going. And if you come to the conclusion that, dang, none of my time or a minuscule amount of my time is dedicated to what I value, make a simple, small change that would point you back to what you value and spending your time doing that, and see what results come of that. And then from there, if your health is on that list, like, take a simple step of just going for a walk. It's as simple as that. Don't overcomplicate it. You're not, if you're 40 or 50 or 35 and you've got 3 kids and a job and kids sports everywhere, like, you're not going to be at an Olympic level, and that's not the goal. The goal is, to take a step toward being more in line with health and optimizing that health piece. And so don't make it something bigger than it really is. Take a first step, and then just analyze the result. Don't just do it and forget about it and move on. Like, look at how you feel, look at how you think, look at how you react to life circumstances after you put a little small change into the mix. And then most of the time, I think most people will come to the conclusion of, like, this is positive, and you can build on that, and then add a little more. And so it's just small steps. Look at it from the long game perspective, not just, I want results right now. It's we want to play the long game. The long game is the goal, but the first place to start is, in my opinion, is writing them values down and assessing your time and seeing if they fit within that.
Yep.
Cool.
Good deal, man. Well, Jimmy, thanks so much for being a guest this morning, man. I really enjoyed your outlook and information and just your heart on mind, body, and spirit and what it means to you and the way that you put it into action. Everybody else watching, thanks so much. Like, share, subscribe. We look forward to continue to serve you through conversation and just information. Love you guys.
Cool, man.